A few days ago, I got invited to an Assassin's Creed Shadows event, preview event. For those of you who don't know those preview events, they are very scripted. So the devs will basically show you exactly the parts of the game that they want you to see. This is a preview. This is not a review. For me to do a review, I would need to play the entire game. I also was quite surprised that they invited me for this because I don't remember the last time I interacted with a Ubisoft game. I think the last Assassin's Creed that I played, I was a kid. But I'm happy for the invite because at least I guess I get to share with you guys the opinion of somebody who is completely outside of the Assassin's Creed world, what I thought about it. And also, I do not care for drama. I do not leave my house. I do not watch the news. I literally just sit at home and I play games all day. So I'm here only to talk about my experiences with the game and that alone. If you want drama, if you want all this stuff, I'm sure you'll find plenty of it around. Just a disclaimer, I was not paid to be at this preview event. I was not paid to be making this video. I was in my house. Ubisoft, I don't care about their opinion of me. In fact, during this preview event, I had an Ubisoft employee watching me play the game all the time, and I spent a reasonable amount of time trying to crawl under the legs of a naked NPC, so their opinion of me is already zero. If you like the video, please press the like button and subscribe because it helps me so much. Thank you. Overall, I enjoyed my time with Assassin's Creed Shadows. There were parts that I was honestly impressed and parts that I wish that were better, but I'll get on to that later. But my general overview of my experience was pretty good. I liked it, and by the end of the 4 hours, I wanted to play the game more. One of the most surprising things for me in this game was the writing. I don't know how the writing is in other Assassin's Creed games, but those recent events where writing has been a weak point, personally, at least the prologue and the parts of the game that I saw during the preview, the writing was really strong. I teared up by the end of the prologue. I was especially invested in the story of Yasuke. Now it was also pretty fun. Her part kind of like made me tear up a little. But I don't know, there was something about Yasuke's story that was something that I just didn't know anything about. And their writing also made it very interesting. There were a few things that, especially after discussing with other people who picked different options than I did in the dialogue, kind of like bummed me out. For example, choices they don't seem, at least from this preview that I saw, this limited view, they don't seem to really affect much. So even if you pick something else, the character does whatever they were going to do anyways. So that was a little bit lame. But even besides that, I was very, very interested, especially to know more about the characters of the game. I'm basically the Hulk trapped in the body of a tiny girl. So I'm not the stealthiest person around. If you watch my stream and watch me play games, I went out of Dishonored fully stealthy because I basically had to kill everybody and throw everybody off the cliff because stealth is really not my strength. I think I'm slowly getting the hang of this. Very slowly. With this in mind, I really liked that this game gives you a choice. If you want to play the classic, traditional Assassin's Creed play, Nai, I hope I said her name right. She is very, how I remember Azu. And Yasuke, he's the big hook. He just goes, hits stuff, and stuff dies. If there's a door, there's no problem. You just charge to the door. Don't need to find a handle. Just break stuff and smash. If you're playing as Yasuke, also, you can do like weapon combos. if you start attacking with one weapon and mid-attack you swap from your katana to your... It's kind of like a big hammer that he can use. He keeps going. Like, one of his abilities that he can swap weapons mid-combat very well and really smoothly. It's kind of like part of his mechanic. I feel like it's nice that it lets you pick what gameplay you want. So if you're not a very stealthy person like me, you have a choice now. With this in mind, however, it did feel like if you are really good at sneaking around and stealth, you're probably going to have a faster like gameplay experience, especially if you're good at it. It allows for a very skillful way of navigating the map and going around maps. Since this game was made to be played with either character, from what I saw, besides of course the prologue, you were never really forced to play as one or the other character. You can pick whatever you want whenever you want. It felt like the game allowed for a lot of creativity in the sense that there's some maybe hidden windows that you can find shortcuts to the places you're going. There's many different little tools that the game gives you as you're trying to stealth around or just hook your way through everything. There were some particularly few things that I noticed that I thought was really nice. For example, if it's ice and you climb into somewhere that there's like the ice on the ceilings, the ice can fall, and then that can alert the enemies to that you're around. Or you can also use that to attract the enemies to a certain area by breaking the icicles and then just kill them all. So it's very cool. The game seems to have a lot of like little details like that, and I really like that. I was particularly impressed when I was walking through town with Yasuke, and since he's like this fancy samurai, some of the more simple people, they were bowing and they were making way. And I also noticed if I just started like charging through the NPCs, they would back off, like they're, oh my god, they probably don't even see I'm here and they're just passing through. So they were kind of like fearing for their lives as I was just walking through to the cities and all that. So I really liked that. I also really liked something that I personally have only seen in this game, especially if you're on a road with walking with your character, and then you remember, oh, damn it, I have a horse. And then you call your horse doesn't just spawn anywhere. Like, for example, on top of a ceiling, like Roach does sometimes. You actually automatically mount your horse and you just go. It's such like a we go energy. You just call your horse and your horse comes and you just go. You're fast. There is no searching, where did my horse go to? With this in mind, it was something that happened a lot while you were walking the roads. If you were in a little awkward position where the horse didn't really have room for it to be, it wouldn't work as well. But on roads, it was kind of like 100% of the time it would work like that. Another nice thing that I found is that you can pet most animals. You can pet dogs, you can pet cats. There's like some cute, I don't know if they're raccoons or something. The animals are so cute. And not only you can pet them, but if you're playing as Knight, you can draw them. And those drawings, they kind of serve a purpose. You can kind of like have a hideout in the game that you can decorate and things like that, and you can frame your drawings of the animals. And not only that, some of the animals, I'm not sure if all, they will move to your hideout after you draw them, if you want them to. So if you want to have some animals around hanging out in your gardens and stuff like that, you can have them. The characters, they have like huge skill trees, lots of skills, lots of trees. I did not have the time to look at them. I am so sorry. I was more focusing on the general vibes of the game. There was one thing that I did not particularly like. It felt like the bosses were very easy. To me, it didn't feel like I was fighting a boss. During the preview event, I could fight 3 bosses. There was one in the prologue, but they didn't allow us to record. So I fought 3 bosses, but 2... I have footage. They doesn't really feel like bosses. They felt more like enemies with long health bars. And by long, I just mean like stretched out on the screen because it didn't really feel like they had a lot more health either. So the bosses, they just seemed very eh. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm not talking about like their character and all this, because one of the bosses especially, I was quite invested in his story and all that, and it was interesting as a character, but as a fight, it felt very eh. The game looked freaking fucking gorgeous. I almost censored myself. I don't know why. I never do that. The game looked fucking amazing. Holy shit. Like the characters, they looked like people. There was this guy, his ass looked pretty cool. However, like, as long as they don't move. The motion capture and the facial expressions, they seemed not as good. And I say this with a little bit of restraint. I think that the reason why I have recently been noticing, it's almost like motion capture in games these days, they're never as good. But I think what's actually the problem is when they make the character models so realistic and human-like, when they start talking, they don't move the parts of their face, like, because when I talk, I move like everything. You can see me moving my eyes, I touch my hair, I move my eyebrows, parts, entire full parts of my cheek move, and I look up, I look down, I look at you. And in video games, this movement doesn't feel natural because they're just so realistic, but the way they move feels so stiff. When a character talk and basically how they move is their mouth, and it's a very realistic looking human, it just feels a little bit weird. I don't think it's necessarily a problem with this game, but it's more like a drawback of having such realistic looking people. Until we get the hang of getting motion capture and all that a little bit better, I feel like it's going to be rare the cases that absolutely they can nail it. So we will probably be seeing games with this drawback for a little while. In general, the game seems pretty polished, which is kind of like expected since the game was supposed to come out a few times already. So I didn't have many problems with it. There was one thing that was mentioned to me. I was talking with a friend who was playing in immersive mode. Sometimes in this game, some characters, they can speak Portuguese and other times Japanese, given the occasion. And they were using subtitles that were not English. And they just didn't find that the writing was as good as I did for the game. And I think they mentioned seeing some typos and stuff like that in the subtitles. So for those of you thinking about playing in immersion mode in your native language, if that's not English, just keep that in mind. Of course, it could be fixed until released, but if you feel like something is odd, maybe it could just be the captions. One of the quests that I did in game was an investigation quest, and in this quest at times, for example, I had to find somebody's wife. So you can either go in town and search for their wife, or you can send like scouts to do things for you. So you can send a scout to look around the area and report back. So you basically just go to your map and then you send a scout, and if the quest that you're doing, there is an objective near that area that you scouted, it will show to you in your map, and then you have like the quest mark on top of it. You can also use those scouts to help you kill people. There was one time that there was a guy that was just like a guard of a place I wanted to go in, and for some reason he was hostile, so I just used a scout to just assassinate him. You can also summon a scout to fight with you. That also happened to me in one of the quests. I just summoned this guy, was kind of on accident, and then he was just helping me fight. So just a cool little mechanic. There is one thing though that really bugs me, is that a lot of times it felt like the enemies were out of place. Random guys would just be hostile and attack me. Even though the world looks very beautiful and extremely well designed, it felt like the environmental storytelling to be a little bit weak. It's almost like if they got the person who did the environmental storytelling from Dragon Age and the writers of this game, they would have like a massive great game. Sometimes it just felt that they were just throwing guys to attack you because, you know, it's a game and you gotta kill shit. And that's kind of like, I don't know, weird, out of place. Maybe it's just an Assassin's Creed thing. Apparently, the side quests in this game were supposed to be a little bit more meaningful. I can't talk much because I didn't really have a lot of free time to just go around and talk to random NPCs and find side quests. But the one side quest that I found was this little girl. It was very sad because her mom was killed, and then she gave you a quest to kill 25 guys. Like, not my kind of quest. Maybe after this first interaction, you know, you would come back to the little girl and, I don't know, maybe she will tell you to find her mom's necklace, or I don't know, but a quest of just killing 25 random guys just seemed kind of silly to me. I wasn't a big fan. And that was the only side quest I can speak for, though. I didn't really shop around or have the time to investigate deeply. Again, even though I have just mentioned some things that I didn't like, by the end of this review, I was pretty excited, and I kind of wanted to keep playing by what I saw. And honestly, the game wasn't even in my radar before this, so it was quite surprising to me. I didn't expect Assassin's Creed to leave such an impression on me. I think Assassin's Creed fans will really like this game. As somebody who wasn't really into it, I was surprised of how much I kind of liked it. I'm honestly excited to play it when it comes out. And if you have any thoughts, concerns, anything, leave them down in the comments. I read them all. I only respond to the nice ones, so if you want to respond, be nice. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and so on. Hope to see you around. Have a good one. Bye-bye.